Gonna go to welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And again, what we're doing, of course, is discussing the borders of the land of Israel as they're set out in the book of Numbers, in one of the last chapters in the book of Numbers. Not the last chapter, but we have to do here, we are going to be dealing with the subject of territory, right? And as you know, it's wars have been fought over such things. So continuing, just to review, so we had discussed this border here, this
Oh,
one
yeah.
here, and there's the Mediterranean Sea here, and we are right now here at this point here. And you're going to see that it's from Hor Hahar, right up there. And Rashi talks about how the mountain kind of stretches into the sea itself. And we also learned that there were some islands here that were included in the borders of the land of Israel. So let me see what I can do here. Right. Mehor Hahar tita'u levo chamat. So from Hor Hahar you shall turn towards and Rashi pointed out that this word ta has to do with an annex, right? In other words, it's sticking out a little bit, right? To levo chamat, the name of a place. Vaya totzot hagavul tzdada, and the border shall extend to tzdada. Let's take a look at the map here. Okay. Here we go. So again, you see from Horahar, it's going up this way to, well, I'm not seeing Chatzon Tamar, but anyway, but here's the Hamat, right? There's Hamat towards, so it goes there. And here's Stada. So you can see how it juts out and then goes back to Tzadad. So all we have now is to discuss the eastern border. Okay, that's what we're going to be discussing. Let's just take a look and see if there's any Rashi on this. Yes, we do have Hor. So Mihor Hahar. Tisavu, that means that you should turn. The board is going to turn. Vetelchu el mitzad meitzar hatzafon, and now it will go to the northern boundary. Letzad hamizrach, towards the east. As you can see, the border was now turning towards the east. Utifkeu belavo chamat, and it will touch lavo chamat, that place called lavo chamat. Zo, look at this, Antuchia, right? So there's a place, I guess, in Rashi's time that was known, right, as Antioch. Totzaot Hagavul, so where the border will ultimately come, Sofo Hagavul, right? He says the end of the border, that northern border. Kol makom shene totzaot hagvul, totzaot hagvul. Every place where it says where the border goes out, or hametzar kale, either the border ends sham legamre completely, ve'eno over lahalan, and it doesn't go any further, klal at all, or misham mishtaf, sorry, mitpashet umarchiv, or otherwise from that point I think it means a no, and o misham mitpashet v'yotzer la'achorav. Oh, okay. I'm trying to understand the syntax here, okay? Whether this a no over klal or misham, or from there spreads out and broadens and goes out la'achorav, it goes backwards, lahemshech lahalan, to ba'alason, right? To go on there in a diagonal yoter any more min harochav, any more than the width at that particular point. Harishon, its original width. So if you can visualize this, let's see if this is helpful here. Let's take a look. Okay, I think this is the point that Rashi's making, is that once it goes out there, any further development means it's going to go this way. Do you see how? So in other words, it's going backwards, it's narrowing rather than broadening any further. And of course, this is also in a diagonal. So it's quite possible that this is exactly. Oh, by the way, here's Lavo Hamat. right? Levo Hamat. It's above Levo Hamat. It's in the general direction of Levo Hamat, but it actually went this way. Okay, let's go back now, just to explain what I understand the Rashi to be saying here. Okay. Okay, min rochav harishon. Inyan rochav hamida harishon, and regarding the measurement of the width to begin with, karot totzaot. So it's in relationship to that first measurement that they call it going out, shisham kalta otamida, because at that particular point, that particular measurement ends at that. In other words, that's the widest point it's going to have, or the tallest point, whatever, however one wants to look at this, or the longest point, etc. Going on. V'yatsa hagvul zifrona, and the border shall go out Zifron, towards Zifron. Vayu totzaov, there's that totzot chatzar einam, and it will go out at chatzar einam. Ze yelachem gvul tzafon. This will be for you the northern boundary. So let's take a look here. Okay, so here we go. Here's Zifron. So this I think here in Chatzar Einam. So this is the northern boundary, and this is like an appendix, right? Stuck up there. So it may be that Horhar and Zifron were parallel, or at least they were seen, or Chatzar in one of those places. And so this is going out, right? This is going out north of that area. Let's take a look again into the text. See, okay. Let's Rashi, I believe we have on this. Okay, Vahiyu totzot chatzar einam, right? Its greatest width will be chatzar einam. It will be hu hayasof hametzar 20. That's considered the end of the northern boundary. V'nimtzeit chatzar einam b'miktzor tzfonit mizrachit, and we see that chatzar einam is in the northern eastern corner. Let's take a look here. Yeah, here's chatzar einam. They say question mark, but it is definitely northeast, right? Not quite in the corner according to this, right? There's all these places they're not absolutely certain of.
That looks like Syria.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're right. That is the general area of Syria. It's not complete Syria, but it is certainly a good part of it. Just want to make sure. Okay. Here we are. Umishan v'hit avitem, right? And from that point, you shall turn lachem el meitzar mizrachi, and at that point, you're going to go to the eastern boundary. Going on. V'hit avitem, there we go, there's that word, right? You shall then turn lachem ligvul kedma, to the eastern, the border on the east, mechatzar einam shafana, from chatzar einam to shafam. Again, let's see, there's chatzar einam to shafan, as far as they know, right? Let's see if there's a Rashi on that, on Yud. Here it is. V'itavitem lashon haseva. He says it's an expression of turning. Unitia, right? Again, it's another word, bending. Kamo titu, right? From this word titu. Shvam, let's see, Shvama, b'meitzar hamizrachi, it was on the eastern edge, umisham harbala, and from there to Harbala. See if we got it. See if there's any Harbala anywhere. Harbal would be the name of it, and offhand, I don't see it. Okay. Oh, yeah, it can't be this, not Rivla. Okay, definitely it's going in this direction here. Okay. Onwards. V'yarad hagvul mishafam Rivla. There we go. Okay, it is Rivla. There was no yud there. There's no yud in this word, but it's with a hirik. The boundary shall go down from B'Shefam Harivla Mikedem La'ayin. So I don't know if Shfam and Rivla are one place or it's two places. Mikedem La'ayin. on the east side of Ayin, v'yarad hagvul u'macha al ketef yam Kinneret, and the boundary will continue to proceed downwards and touch on the edge of the Kinneret, the sea, the Sea of Tiberias, Kedma on the east side. So it would include the Sea of Tiberias or Lake Tiberias. Let's go here. Sorry, let's go here. Okay, then here it is. This is Lake Tiberias right here. So you can see it's going here down to the shoulders calling of the Kinneret. It's called Kinneret. The word Kinneret means like a harp, little harp, because it's sort of shaped like a harp. But this is exactly what it's talking about here. Let's see. Mikedem la'ayin, on the east side of Ayin. Shem makom, Ayin is the name of a place. V'hameitzar holech, and the boundary goes b'mizracho, on its eastern side. V'nimtza ha'ayin lifnim min hameitzar, so that Ayin, this place called Ayin, is within the borders of Israel. Ume'eretz Yisrael, and it's part of Israel. V'yarad hagdvul, kol hagvul holech mitzafon ladarom. So when it says yarad, to go down, it means the entire boundary goes from north to the south. Hu yored v'holech. It's continually going down. Umacha al katef Yam Kinneret, and it shall touch on the shoulder of Yam Kinneret, Kedma, the Lake Tiberias, on the Sea of Galilee is another name for it, right? On the east side, Sheyehei Yam Kinneret tochlik b'marav, so that the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, should be within the border on the western side, v'hagvul b'mizrach, and the border on the east, Yam Kinneret, on the east of Yam Kinneret, umisham yored, and from that point it goes down El Hayarden, next to the Jordan River, v'hayarden moshech uva, and the Jordan River draws and goes down min hatzafon from ladarom, from the north to the south, ba'alachson, in a diagonal, notel letzad mizrach, it then turns towards the east, umit karev letzad eretz Knan, and it gets close to the side of the land of Canaan, keneged Yam Kinneret, opposite the Sea of Galilee, umoshech letzad mizrachit shel Eretz Yisrael, and again it draws on the east side of the land of Israel, keneged Yam Kinneret, opposite the Sea of Galilee, ad she tafal bayam hamelach, right? I think nofel. Sorry, there's two letters. Until it falls into the Dead Sea. Umisham kaleh hagvul, and at that point we have discussed the boundary ends betotzatov el yam hamelach, as it goes down to the Dead Sea, shemimenu hitchalta, because from that point when we began meitzar miktzor dromit mizrachit, we began the boundary on the south eastern edge. Hare sovivet ota la'arba, and now we have surrounded the land of Israel on all four sides, in all four directions. So just go back into this so we can see it, right? So here we go. Here's the Jordan. You see how it goes down on the Jordan to the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is going to be included, and here we are. This is where we started. So now we've included all the four boundaries of the land of Israel. Make sure. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. Let's go here. Okay. Right. So I think this is where we ended, right? Vayarad hagvul hayardena, and the boundary shall go down towards the Jordan, right? Vahayu totzoav Yam HaMelech, and it should go out at the Dead Sea. Zot tieh lachem haaretz likvulotea saviv. This shall be your land on its boundaries around, with its boundaries surrounding. Let's see if there's a Rashi on this. Nope, I think we're good. Yep, I think we just finished. That's that. Let's see what the next Rashi's gonna be. Yeah, okay, verse 15 is the next Rashi. Okay. Vaitzav, Moshe ibn Israel lemor, and Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, Zot haaretz, this is the land, asher tinachalu ota begoral, which you will inherit it by lot. In other words, it'll be divided up by lot. Asher tzivah Hashem, which the Lord commanded, latet, to give letishat hamatot v'chatzi hamateh, to give to the nine tribes and the half tribe. So we're talking about I believe when it says half tribe, we're talking about half the tribe of Menashe. That is the tribe. Now, why are there nine? You know there are 12 tribes. Okay, so of course, one of the tribes is the tribe of Levi, and Levi did not get the part of the inheritance because of their responsibilities. But remember, after they conquered the land of Sichon and Og, right, the Amorites, and they'd conquered that area. Remember, two and a half tribes, right? Reuven, Gad, and I think it was the tribe of Menashe, if I'm not mistaken, right? Wanted territory there. It was fertile land, and they took their portion there, okay? And so now we have 9.5 left. So the tribe of Ephraim was not included. So unless it was only part of Menashe, but it could have been the entire tribe of Moshe. And although I'm thinking that Ephraim and Menashe were each considered complete tribes. So if he's talking about the half tribe, he's talking about half the tribe of Menashe, and maybe the other half obviously then took its portion in this particular area. But that's how you get the 9 here. Okay. Ki lachu, here we go. Ki lachu matev ne haruvain leveta. So we're going to get the whole thing. Right, there we are. Here we are. It's actually in the text. Thank you, thank you. Right, 4. Matev ne haruvim, because the tribe of the children of Reuven, levet avatam, according to the ancestral homes, umatev ne hagadi, and the tribe of Gad, levet avatam, according to their ancestral homes, v'chatzi mate Menashe, and half of the tribe of Menashe, lakhu nachalatam. They took already their inheritance. And there we are. It's right there, explicitly stated in the text. You don't have to depend on my memory. Shnei hamatot v'chatzi hamate. Right? These two entire tribes and half of the tribe, lakhu nachlatam me'ever laten, took their lot from on the other side of the Jordan, Yerecho Kedma Mizracha, by Jericho east. This would be so east. Kedma Mizracha means towards the east. Mizrach and Kedem are both words that mean basically east. So, Kedma Mizracha, El Pnei Ha'olam, in other words, it means like towards the world Shehem b'Mizrach. In other words, the east. We're talking now about territory that's in the world, on earth, Mizrachit. Sheruach Mizrachit, because the east direction, Kruya Panim, is sometimes called Panim. Panim means face. Umaravit Kruya Achor. Sometimes it's called, and sometimes west is called behind the Fichach. Okay, so if you think about it, that the cardinal for our cardinal direction, it's north, but for them the cardinal direction was east. Right. So if you face east and that's the cardinal direction, then obviously west is behind Achor, the Vichach Darom, and so for the south is going to be Layamin, is going to be right, but it's abundantly small, and north is going to be on the left. If you consider east to be the cardinal direction. So Vadaber Hashem El Moshe Lemor. So again, now we have Moses speaking to the children of Israel, saying, Ela shmot ha'anashim. These are the names of the people. Asher yinchalu lachem et haaretz, who will divide up for you and inherit for you the land. In other words, they're going to set up the divisions of what your inheritance is going to be in the land. Elazar hakohen, Elazar the priest, Yoshua ben Nun, and Joshua son of Nun. Asher yinchalu lachem, who will, in other words, divide up for you and apportion. I guess apportion would be a good translation. Who will apportion for you? Bishvilchem, for you, kol nasi v'nasi, right? Apotropos l'shivto. He says every prince, every chieftain, right, was an apotropos, is like a go-between, right? He's like your representative. Lishivto, for his tribe, umechalek nachalat hashevet lemishpachot uveligvarim, and he divides the portion of that tribe according to its families, uligvarim, and according to its men, uvorel lechol, and he chooses lechol echad ve'echad, he chooses for each and every one chelek hagun, an appropriate portion. Uma shehem osim, right, and that which they have done, yeh asui, it's considered properly done. Ilu asu I think it's okay. I think it's ke'ilu, as if they had made them their emissaries. V'lo yitachen lefaresh lachem, and we cannot explain this term lachem for you, ze kachol lachem shebemikra, that this particular lachem is like every other lachem in Scripture. She'im kein haya lo lichto, because if that were the case, it should have said yanchilu lachem. That's a hifil. They will divide up, I think would be the word, right? But basically it has to do with inheritance, right? For you, yinchalu mashma. So the way it says yinchalu and not yanchilu implies shehem nochlim lachem bishvilchem, that they inherit for you. In other words, they apportion the land for you, bishvilchem uvimkomchem, for you and in your place, kamo, as we say in Exodus 14, Hashem yilachem lachem. There it says, the Lord will wage battle for you. I think the distinction possibly is the sense that I'm getting out of this is that the role of these particular princes or chieftains of the tribe is that, in a sense, they themselves are dividing it up, and then on behalf of everybody else. And it's not as if they're dividing it up and giving it to them, if you can sense the subtle distinction, although it winds up, as far as I'm concerned and can understand at this point, to be essentially the same thing. But there's something in the process itself that is being that there's a subtle distinction between the two, right? That that in a sense that the chieftains, right, are their representatives, and I think that's the idea, and not that the chieftains have the land and can then apportion it the way they did. And I think that's the idea. Then, and that's the point that Rashi's making, is that when they divided up the land, they had to do what was appropriate and fitting for each and every tribe. And we're going to stop here for today, and I'm going to just pop the place in here. And I'm going to mark a page, and I'm going to stop the share and welcome any comments that you might have. And welcome back, David Brunstein. Okay, thoughts, comments. David Sklar, please.
I'm following the border on the west. That's the
Yeah.
Mediterranean. I'm following the border on the south, which is that brook of Egypt.
Yes.
I'm following the southeastern border, which was the Jordan River, the Kinneret, etc. But the northern border is convoluted. I mean, what's the point?
It is. You're asking actually a very good question. So the question is whether or not there's more than meets the eye on this particular border, and as to why it's this particular border. I mean, we can look at it simply on its shot level, saying that the Torah, knew what places it was talking about, and that it just defined the border in the way it did. Whether there is a reason why the border wasn't straight, in other words, why it didn't necessarily follow a natural, like the Jordan River or the Kinneret or any of those things. Maybe there's some greater significance as to why that would become the territory of the Israelites. And let me say this, I appreciate you asking the question because up to this point, I was simply struggling to that is before we had these lessons, and I found the map and everything. I'd come to this passage, and of course, trying to visualize it was next to impossible. So at least we have some sense of what the borders of the land of Israel looked like. But what I'm getting out of your question is that perhaps there's some greater significance to why the border follows the course, this convoluted course that it does. And I have to think there is. What is it? I don't know. But it is tantalizing to think, maybe there's some historic or literary, meaning behind these particular borders. And that may not have been your question,
Well,
but yes, go me.
my thought would be that if you look at the history, the H word, which is not always popular in certain areas, the northern kingdom of Israel, the northern border of Israel, was in contention with a lot of people to the north in terms of different tribes that were non Hebrew, if you want to call it that. And so I suspect that this reflects in some way the areas that were occupied by Israelites as opposed to those which were foreign territory occupied. If you head to the south, which is the desert, and the southeast, you're looking at sparsely populated, arid areas that probably would not have been in that much contention. You've also got the Northern Kingdom, which is clearly the dominant of the two players in times in which the Bible may have been, or this chapter may have been formulated. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
Is look at at what was going on in that vicinity over a period of several hundred years, and the answer might be a little bit more obtainable.
So, I mean, you pays your money and you takes your choice, and
Sure.
and it's quite possible that there's a lot to say in terms of the explanation you have. You and I got the darts. Okay, I caught
No,
the
they're not meant
darts.
to be
I caught the
darts.
darts.
It's
It's okay. No, no,
explanatory.
no, no. It's perfectly fine. It's perfect. This is all done in great friendship and admiration,
Yeah.
like mutual
Yeah.
admiration. I
I
assure you.
mean,
Okay. So having said that, the reason why I go the direction that I go is because I primarily, I've said this for the umpteenth time, right? I
yeah.
see this document as literary. And
Okay.
history is essentially, from my perspective, a Greek innovation. It represents Western society, and there's enough been written about the distinction between Hebrew society and Western society. And of course, guess what? Where every one of us, we have been raised in Western society. And so our thinking goes along those lines. But I see primarily the Bible as a literary work, as containing a great deal of symbolism and things like that. And that's not necessarily to deny, the legitimacy of your explanation historically. Having said that, there were populations all over the place. There were the Moabites down in the south. There certainly were people living on the eastern side. There's arable land on that side as well. It's but I agree with you. I mean, basically going up north, it seems to be more arable up there, but who knows? I don't know. But I certainly wanted you to express fully your thoughts about it, and I think it
Yeah.
all contributes to the conversation. And David, I think you had your hand raised. David Sklar.
No, I didn't. I was just going to comment that I think Mead's absolutely wrong.
Well,
David, your check is in the mail. Okay, very good. David,
well,
what's
I'm
the,
out of
You
the
know,
desert. Maybe the
yeah,
heat got to me.
no, I don't think so.
I'm also thinking of the convoluted trail that the Israelites took, after they left Egypt, So
Yeah.
maybe convolution is a good thing.
Well, now you're talking in my language, which has to do with literary themes, that life just doesn't go in a straight line. It never does. We shouldn't expect it to. And also the idea of the convolution being an accommodation of the fact that there are other people around us, that we have to be able to adjust to the fact that we have to live with other people and they make demands, and we have to be able to, go in and out and sort of recognize that. So there we go. There's a literary theme for you. Okay. I'm going to stop the share at this point and stop the recording.